Hello, book lovers. Welcome back to another episode of My View on Books in MWM. I'm MaddiE. Today is a very special episode because this is the first episode wherein I'm doing a review of a book which was requested for a book review from my website. So that's why it's special. Alright, before we get into the episode, let us view some details about the book and come back.
Hey guys, so this is the blog that I had written for Fate or Destiny. So there are no spoilers in this blog. You can read it and just decide whether you need to read this book or not. So that's all. I will not really revealed any plot stories here. So my one-word review is poignant because you will get attached to the story and get connected to the characters and feel what they are going through. And my verdict is: experience a tale of twisted love with emotions and comedy in the island. So it's a tale of love with comedy and emotions and a bit of suspense. So it's a whole package. You can enjoy reading this book. So it's available on Amazon, both in Kindle and the paperback version.
Yeah, that was about my blog. So let us get into the analysis of the book. The story is about a tourist guide in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So his name is Kevin. That's our protagonist, who is a tourist guide who takes tourists into different tourist spots on the island and shows them off. That's basically the life he has. He feels it very mundane, an ordinary life with not much excitement. So what is his motive? He's living for his brother named Kiran. So basically they've lost their parents to a natural calamity and they've been left all alone to sustain themselves. So he's basically working odd jobs and finally landed up in a tourist guide job, and he's working and earning money to provide education for his brother. This is the setting of the story, and so Kevin meets a group of girls, inadvertently by chance, and he makes friendship with them, and through the interactions and the process of friendship, he transforms into a different person. So he falls in love with a girl called Abhi, who is also like reserved and shy character. Talking about the characterization, our protagonist is a very reserved, introverted character. So he naturally falls for Abhi. So that's the story is about. Basically, rom-com. But with elements of surprise. So what are the elements of surprise? He has a very troubled childhood, and because of that he has developed some disorders, basically like walking in sleep, and he's aquaphobic. He cannot stand watching water or going nearby water. So these are the elements that makes the story more suspenseful. So we do not have idea what kind of troubled childhood he has. It's the very beginning of the story. It comes at the later part when he explains his childhood. So that's the element of surprise, and there is a symbolism employed which I found it very interesting and I liked it. So whenever he is sleepwalking, he doesn't get injured or he doesn't get doesn't end up in any trouble, because there is always a goat in his dreams that is guiding him properly to go to places and basically not harm himself. So I found that symbolism very interesting because it is a way of portraying or showcasing a character, and these are the elements of surprises that makes the story more interesting, along with the rom-com genre, right? And so what are the inciting incidents? So when he meets the group of girls, that's a very good inciting incident from where the story kickstarts. So until then, his only motive is he's going through this ordinary life because he has to provide education for his brother Kiran. So now that he meets this group of girls and he falls in love with Abhi, one of the girls, so he wants to propose to that girl and end up marrying her. But then there are a lot of problems around the family, and things are getting out of control. So how is he handling this situation, and what happens if he fails to attain her? So that is the story. So the author has not completed the story in this book. She has left different dimension at the end of the story, and will be continued in another book. So this is about the story. And coming back to the narration, so the author has narrated, as I've told earlier in a romantic comedy tone. So you have a lot of comedy sequences now and then to make the story interesting and not feel bored. So there is one episode where our protagonist Kevin ends up in a place with his brother and a couple of friends who are very high on weed, and they want ice cream. So that episode was really funny. I couldn't stop laughing myself loud. So there are more sequences where you will laugh a lot. So I loved those sequences. So basically, at certain parts, you'll forget about the suspenseful elements. You'll stop worrying about what is the troubled childhood, and you will be enjoying the present events that is happening, how he is trying to win the heart of Abhi. So all those sequences were really interesting and amusing, and only when the sleepwalking episodes occur, you are reminded that there is something behind Kevin. So what is his troubled childhood, what has happened to him, and why is he aquaphobic. So all those things we are getting reminded about them only when those particular episodes come in. Until then, you are just enjoying the present events of Kevin trying to attain Abhi. Yeah, this is the narration, and there are certainly some drawbacks, like we are shown the perspective of Kevin all throughout the story. So through some conversations, we have some background stories for other characters, but not in depth. Kevin's background story is complete, the graph is complete. So we come to know what has happened in his childhood, why he is caring for his brother, and how he has survived in his life until now, and how he feels about Abhi and other girls. All those things are narrated clearly. But the other characters, there are a lot of characters, Abhi, and there's a funny character, friend of Abhi called Leena, Nisha. So there are so many characters employed in the story, but the background story for them is not developed well. So you tend to get connected to them but not feel empathetic. That is because the characters are good, but you don't have much to work with them. So that is the drawback. But apart from this, there are a lot of highlights. Funny sequences, narration is simply good, the dialogues are funny. A lot of highlights overshadow this shortcomings of the story, and I would recommend this book to anyone who's exploring peculiar fictions. And obviously you will be taken to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, because personally I haven't visited Andaman and Nicobar Islands, but through the story I felt I was in the islands, seeing those tourist spots and what Kevin is feeling through when going through all those things. So it's a very good novel, and it's just 200 pages in length. And I think everybody should read and try this novel, and it's worth your time. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. See you until the next episode. I am MaddiE, and you're watching MWM. Until then, it's bye bye.